Destiny Gundam. Hey, what's up again everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from gundam.tk and YouTube, and you've already seen the massive amount of parts that come with this Extreme Blast mode, the special version of the Master Grade Destiny Gundam, but now it's time to put them all together and see how they stack up. When he's all put together and spins around, the Destiny Gundam looks a little bit, I don't know how else to say it, but plain. Outside of the fact that he's got the beam boomerangs, which just add some width to him, he's a pretty unremarkable Gundam, but I have to say that the color scheme works. The little yellow details down here in the forearms and the purple on the chest, combined with the big V-fin, I actually really like the way that he looks, although sometimes for posability you're about to see that there are some problems, especially down with the legs. To start with the upper body though, you're able to bring the arms this far forward so he could reach across like that. The arm is going to spin around along with the shoulder, and the arms are still going to have no problem doing the 180, which is a pretty solid upper body so far. The waist rotates about this much, and it can also pivot left and right, and if you open up that panel as you saw in the parts video, you're able to bend the back so that he can look up like this. Down to the legs, where you're able to bend them out almost this much before the waist skirt the side skirts get in the way, and then the front skirts are going to pop off if you try to do pretty much anything with them, and so the leg can come up like that. The bend mechanism, as you saw earlier, is quite impressive. It also has a thruster that moves around there, and the ankles are able to move fairly well, and that ankle guard doesn't get in the way of anything, it seems. The problem with the Destiny Gundam though is readily apparent when the skirts are off, because anything you try to do with the legs, you may notice, is going to pull out that mechanism even when it's all the way forward and locked. So if you just want to turn the legs off to the side or rotate them or open them up a little bit, you're not going to actually be bending the hip. What you're going to be doing is swinging out that mechanism there. So you have to keep it pushed in to even have a chance of bending the hips, which is just problematic at best, and it's very difficult to get the legs lined up just right because the hips and there are just too many moving parts, and this locking mechanism works well in theory, but not in practice. Adding the backpack will turn this into a much more familiar sight. And this is where all of a sudden the extra width that you've got from the boomerangs up here is balanced out by the fact that you've got this huge backpack. You can adjust the red wings, you can pivot them in and out to get them at just the right angle. But this is where the Destiny Gundam to me starts to look good. The oversized V-fin no longer looks oversized, and that chrome, you're just going to see it in pieces. It's not as noticeable as the Strike Freedom with its gold, but everything about it, especially on the manipulators, I am now a huge fan of the way that this MS looks. For size comparison, the Destiny Gundam, depending again how you adjust the legs, it comes across as of course being much wider, but also just a little bit taller than the Force Impulse, although that's a little bit misleading just because their V-fins are so drastically different. But this one comes across as sleek and powerful compared to just the bulked out power there on the left. There are, and should be, a lot of similarities between the title Gundams of the first sequel, Zeta Gundam, and Seed Destiny, the first sequel really in the Another Centuries. You can notice that there's just so many similarities just in the way all the colors are positioned, the big difference being that you're just going to have a lot more gray here on the Destiny. And depending on the light, hopefully you can make that out there, just how different the tone really is. Two Masters of Melee in Gundam vs. Gundam, where you have the Master Grade Epion. That's a new one that you can check out its review on gundam.tk, but the Destiny really comes across as being a lot sleeker and more Gundam-like, as it should, compared to the more filled out Epion, whose wings really take the cake here for size. Arming the Destiny involves putting the shield on here just with a peg, so you're going to have to move the arm around because otherwise it can get caught up here in the shoulder. And you're also going to have to swap off the manipulators. The beam rifle won't fit in this open hand. Remember, you get 5 in total, so you're going to use the 3-finger trigger finger split hand there. Fully loaded, these weapons slide in very easily, but then you're going to get a little bit of weight issues, and you'll have to adjust the legs to get the center of balance accordingly. As I said, this is going to get in the way just a little bit with the boomerangs up there, and the beam rifle really does look nondescript, but again, that problem with the legs is going to drive you crazy, just trying to get everything aligned just such when you've got the hips moving all over the place when you don't want them to. Ground poses are possible and actually look pretty good. Again, you're just going to have to get everything out of the way, and you'll notice that that manipulator is already being very weak with only the weight of a beam rifle in there. The wings have no problem opening because they are going to keep him balanced, and they really do add a huge amount of height onto the already tall Master Grade there. The only problem being that beam rifle, and let me just show you here. You'll notice how much those legs can bounce in and out as you try to put it down. Once he's elevated in the action base, there's the force impulse, just so you see how high he is off the ground. And you're going to notice that the pose isn't very attractive. You're going to have to be careful getting that in, but also because the arm fell down from weight issues, and again, that's only the beam rifle. Also, that tab on the back seems like a good idea, except for the fact that it's going to have a backpack and an action base, conceivably, blocking you from opening it or closing it. I'm not trying to clean up these poses because you'll notice that the ankle guards fall down fairly easily. Front skirts, side skirts have both chucked off, but wings open up in the air. I don't know how you can't like that. When you swap the manipulators, you're going to have to take off this blue part every time, and everything, including that wrist, which is very, very weak, seems to have trouble staying together when you're swapping things on and off. The beam boomerangs, other than being a little bit hard to get out there and stay together, really fit well into the hands and actually can look quite menacing even with the short ones on instead of the long. Throwing the beam boomerangs, though, are going to depend entirely on how you position the arms as to whether you're going to have any weight issues, but so far so good. And I've completely changed up the way the arms are positioned there, with the shoulders back, forearms forward, and the hands over top. And even crossed, even though I've had problems with weight issues in the past, they seem to be working pretty well this time. Sadly, it's pretty hard to pretend that that's anything other than plastic holding those boomerangs forward in the air. This kind of straight out pose is the only one so far where it's even dipped even a little, though. But I have to say, the effect is really growing on me. The palm fiocchina fits in the same way, and can actually have a pretty cool looking melee effect there. But shooting straight out, I had a perpendicular and it fell to there, again depending on how you position the arm. The shield fits fairly well onto the forearm there. You're just going to have to play around with that yellow part to get everything just right. But the palm fiocchina shooting out and the shield on, these effect parts, even though they are clear and you have different colors here between the nice blue print here and the plain white, looks pretty good. Usually I'd hold off till the end for this, but it's time to put the wings in. And when you do that, you're going to have no trouble putting them in some of the time, but you're going to have to be careful that everything lines up just right. You'll notice that over on this wing, everything is sort of just popped forward, as in it's sort of beveled in there. It's not in there smoothly, but this one has gone in fine just up here. And the red part's coming forward, and that pink rainbow effect, everything's looking pretty sharp. Wings on, shield on, palm fiocchina in the air. I don't know if there's anybody that can deny that Destiny really has an incredible arsenal and that they come across looking very well thanks to these effect parts. For the massive sword, you'll use this manipulator, which isn't the 3-finger trigger finger split and has a different kind of palm peg on it. And in an identical pose with that going straight up and down more or less, it still seems to work. But other poses, you're going to have a lot less luck. Using the second hand as a support there, that's just a 3-finger trigger finger split, you can actually have him charging forward, getting ready to impale anybody who wants to spam in his way. 2 hands on the hilt here, even if one is just resting gently, pretty much solidifies everything. Hard to make out back there, but I've just brought the weapons harness down in an L shape, so it's at 90 degrees, and though it's a little bit tricky to get the manipulator there into the handle, it is possible. This weapon fits through, and it comes through and can actually transform, even with the wings and the pink parts on there, no problems at all. Everything was going well with the sword until gravity kicked in. Finally, if you enjoy posing your Gundams, this one is going to give you more than enough options to keep you busy for what seems like hours. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for the final verdict. You know, if you look at the later intros, I'm in the center. I'm the lead. Ever seen the video for the 30th anniversary where I'm in it and you're not? Come on, man, you were crying like a girl.